Hello everybody and welcome back to Crazy Bees. We are still in the kitchen. I started a video where I was doing the last of the last video to show you the roselle hibiscus tea, if that makes any sense. And now we're on trying to get these peppers dehydrated because I need to start doing some baking and some, I want to do some jam. So that's what we're going to do today is jam, but I got to get these peppers off the table. You ever go to start a project and you're like, I can't do this until my area is clean? Well, I need to take care of my odds and ends before I go starting something else. So we are going to chop up these peppers. I always dread doing this, and what I'm doing is cutting them in half. The bigger ones I'm cutting in half, and I'm putting them on a dehydrator tray. And I've already got one done. And let me tell you guys, some of these peppers are extremely hot, so the smell is just going through the whole house. And what we'll do with those is make our pepper flakes for our jars. So we have some jalapenos in here, we got gator jigsaws in here, we got daddles, we got Carolina Reapers, the primatoles. Where are those? Right here. Oh, these ones are nasty. Tom did a video on those, and that's the hottest pepper he's ever had. I haven't put those videos out yet. I still need to do that. There's just a big variety of different super hot peppers that are on these trays. So, talk about clearing the sinuses. I'm going to work on this, get these all taken care of, and then I can start doing my jam, which I'm very excited about. We have these tiny little chilta pins here. Tell you, they are tiny, but they pack a punch. One of these days I'll have Tom get on here and talk about the Scoville levels on a lot of these peppers, because they have quite the range. But I think our least hottest pepper, that's a super hot out there, maybe the daddle. He just tried another one called the Christian. It's yellow and it kind of has a lemony tinge to it, and we got a bunch of them out there. He really likes those, but he said that they're manageable. Those are manageable, and of course the jalapenos are manageable for him. And the other night we were making some kind of dish, I don't remember, and he wanted me to put a pepper in there called a UFO, and I thought those were on the sweet side, that they didn't have the bite to them. And thankfully he tried it first, because they were quite hot, and I can't handle hot. He does, but I cannot. And then what was the other one? Oh, we have black princes out there. And I've tried a black prince before. Let me see. We have a bunch of them. I can show you one. This right here is a black prince. And here's another one. And this is about how big we want them. They start out fairly small, and then they just keep growing. And the last time I tried one of these, it wasn't spicy, and it had a really good flavor. So we were out watering the other night, and he brought one out to me, and I just popped it right in my mouth, and oh, let me tell you what, it had spice. And he goes, "You're kidding me." He's like, "You can't eat any of these peppers. Black princes aren't spicy." And I'm like, "Don't tell me that pepper isn't spicy. It's a spicy pepper." And so he ate one, and no, nothing. Then he was out watering a few days later, and he had another one. Guess what? He got got a spicy one. And I was really grateful that he did, because I was like, man, you know, I thought I could handle a little bit. I can't handle much, but I thought I could handle a little bit. So I was grateful that I wasn't losing it altogether. We have fun out there watering, trying all the different things all the time. I have some sweet bananas out there that are just amazing. What's the other one? Bequinos. Bequinos are really good. They're a smaller pepper, but they don't have the bite to them. And then the last one I just picked was a sweet crimson. And it's really got a sweet flavor to it. It's very good. It's kind of in the family of the bells, but it no, I wouldn't say it grows like a bell. It doesn't really. It grows more like, this isn't one of them, but this is a big gem here. And the sweet crimson was kind of like this, but it was folded a little bit, and it was red. It was a beautiful red. And yeah, I tried that, and it was very good. So we saved the seeds from one of those. So I'll see if my seed saving worked with peppers. I always astonish myself when my seeds start with my own seeds. I guess that's not being a totally seasoned gardener and not having faith in your technique. Because with peppers, you know, if you were to save peppers from a green pepper, you're not going to be able to get seedlings, because they have to go through all their stages before you can save the peppers. So 90% of your peppers have to be red before you can save the seeds from that pepper. So I learned that. So I'm going to keep working on these, and I'll show you these trays when I'm done, see how many we came up with. All right, I got our mess all cleaned up from the peppers. I wanted to show you guys, I saved the seeds from 2 Primatola Reds peppers. So I'm going to let those sit there for several days and just let them dry out. I am going to put the name of what they are right here. And I wanted to show you also what we did with the little baby peppers that we had outside. Okay, now this is our little babies that I had outside that are just doing terribly right now. So we purchased this grow room. It's called an AC Infinity. And I've got humidity going on in here, and it stays a little bit more on the, like, right now, like 70, 75. So that's going to help these peppers. And I smell like fish right now because I just fertilized them with some fish emulsion. And down here at the bottom, it has its own little tray that collects the water so that you don't have runoff or whatever. I have this in my garage. And then I have these fans going for aeration. And then you can also, and then this light right here is for growing. And then you also have this vent. I need to do the filter. I need to clean that off right there. I'm going to vacuum it off because I was trying to take it off to clean it off, and the straps on there are making that very difficult. I'd have to take the whole thing out. And I'm noticing right now, looking through this camera, that I've got some spider webs up in here. So I need to make sure that I hit this with some neem oil to make sure I don't get any spider mites. So here's our little grow room that we're going to try to do our peppers in and see how they do under a grow light in here. But I think they'll like it. It's like 70, 75 degrees in here right now. So it's going to be a lot better than the 40s that it's starting to drop down into at night, and peppers just don't like the cold. So I'm afraid that we would lose these guys, and they're not getting enough daylight underneath the patio. So that was one of our other projects that we did today. Now let's get going on that jam. We have done a little bit of prep work, got those peppers out of the way. I have my water right here for doing water bath canning. I wanted to show you, I have had this rack for my water bath canner for forever, but I'm going to have to throw it away. I mean, it's gotten all rusty. We have such hard water that it's finally just seen its day, but I've had it for forever. So I did get rid of that. I did put a different rack in the bottom because you never want to put your jars directly on the bottom of your pan or your pot, because they will bounce around too much and you will end up having cracked jars. Always having something for them to sit on is going to be a better bet. So we've got that going. We're going to throw this in the trash. We've got our lids on warm. We don't want those to boil. Or, yeah, I just have them on keep warm right now. And then I have I'm doubling this recipe that I found online. I'm doubling it because I want to make these as Christmas gifts for my ladies, and I have quite a few. So I have taken them out of the bag. This is a 12-ounce bag. Put them in my colander, rinsed them out, and in the recipe it called for fresh, but I'm using frozen. And I went through and picked out any that looked, kind of wrinkly, soft. It's hard to tell the soft really, except for what you see on the wrinkled skin on the outside when you're dealing with frozen. But if they look shriveled or have a lot of black on them or anything, you definitely don't want those. So we'll put those in the compost. And then we're going to put the rest of these, so this is 24 ounces, into this pot and turn that on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let these break down. They'll start popping, break down, liquefy a bit, and then we're going to go to the next step. But in the meantime, while that is going, I am going to be working on strawberries. They call for 40 ounces per 12-ounce packet of strawberries. So 12 ounces of cranberries, 40 ounces of strawberries, but they were using frozen strawberries. I'm kind of just flip-flopping it. So this is a 32 ounce, so I'm just going to go with the two 32 ounces instead of the 40 ounce, being it is fresh. And I'm going to get these destemmed while that's breaking down, and then get a few other items ready and come back and see how those cranberries are doing. Okay, we had our cranberries in the bottom of this pot, 24 ounces, and now we have added two 32-ounce containers of strawberries, and we are going to let those break down just a little bit. We've got the berries in here breaking down. I added, the original recipe calls for 1 cup of liquid. I put in 2 cups of orange juice. So that's in here with that. And now I'm going to immersion blend mine because I don't like a really chunky jam. So we're going to immersion blend this a little bit. Okay, I want to make sure that I don't have any huge strawberries in here. just to make sure. I don't mind some chunks. I just don't want a bunch of chunks. Okay, I think we're good. The next thing we have to do is add our pectin. In the original recipe, it calls for 6 tablespoons of pectin. So I have to double that. I'm going to do 12 tablespoons of pectin, and I'm going to mix it with about a half a cup of sugar, and then I'm going to get it mixed into here. Okay, we've got all of this blended in here. Now we are going to take the 12 tablespoons of the pectin and mix in a half a cup of sugar. It makes it blend better. So on the original recipe, it was 6 tablespoons to a quarter cup of sugar. So we're just going to get this mixed in here. And I'm also going to add the zest of 1 orange. Okay, now that we have got the pectin and the sugar in here, and it's been going for just a little bit, we are going to add our spices. So in the original recipe, you're doing a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of cloves, and a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg. I'm doubling, so I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of cloves, and a half a teaspoon of nutmeg going into this mix. The next thing that we have to do is we have to bring this to a hard boil. And that means when you're stirring it, you don't lose the boil. It will keep on boiling. So I'm going to get this all mixed in, and I'll show you what it looks like right now. It's a beautiful color. I just love this color. This is going to make an absolutely beautiful jar of jam for a gift. It smells divine. Here is our jam as it is looking right now. Now we need to bring this up to a hard boil. And then once it comes up to that hard boil, we're going to have to add all of that sugar. And oh my goodness, with doubling this recipe, it's a lot of sugar. But with jam, you know, you got to think about, you use maybe a tablespoon and a half on a piece of toast. So you gotta look at the variable. But it's 7 cups of sugar for the original recipe. So 14 cups of sugar will go into this. I hope my pot is big enough. Our jam is now coming to a boil. So what we need to do now is get it to a rolling boil. At this point, you do not want to walk away from your jam. I don't recommend ever walking away from it the whole time that it's on the stove. But you definitely do not want to walk away from it at this point. This is scalding hot. And I've had it like, you know, the heat was too high and I've just had it jumping out of the pan at me before. So you really need to be very careful of your jam at this point. And you don't want it to scald the bottom of your pot either. So we're almost there. As you can see, I'm starting to stir and that boil is staying. It's not going anywhere. But I want it to become a little bit harder before I do my timer. And what you want to do is have a timer for 1 minute once you get to a rapid rolling boil. Okay, so we're going to set our timer for 1 minute. And now After this goes for 1 minute, we're going to add in the rest of that sugar. Our timer is going off for the 1 minute. And now we are going to add the rest of our sugar. Remember, we had done the 13 or the half a cup, so we are deducting that from the 14 cups of sugar. So we still have to add 13 and a half cups of sugar to this recipe. Now we are going to get this all dissolved, and then we will bring it back to another rolling boil, and then it's going to have to boil for 4 minutes. It takes a little while for this to come back up to a rolling boil. It has been coming back up to a boil for a while. It's getting ready to get back into a rolling boil. Okay, we are now at a rolling boil. So we're going to boil this for 4 minutes. And to keep all of this foam from getting really thick, we are going to add some butter. It doesn't do anything to it, but it deletes that foam so you have a nice clear jar of jam. I usually don't, I usually just skim it off, but I really want this to be vibrant and bright. It's your preference if you want to just skim it off or if you want to add the butter. You do not have to add the butter. Okay, we have approximately 30 seconds left of this being at a rolling boil. As you can see, it's popped a little bit out of the pan. Boy, you want to be very careful. Make sure that you have a spoon that's tall enough so you're not that close to the pot, so you're not getting burnt. Okay, now we're going to turn this off, and I'm going to continue stirring it just for a little bit longer, just to bring down that boil before I stop stirring it so it doesn't start popping out of the pan. And as you can see, there's hardly any foam on the top of this jam, but I will skim off the little bit that there is. And then we're going to get ready for canning these jars up. And as you've heard in the background the whole time, I have had my dishwasher going, and that is to sanitize my jars. You can also sanitize your jar in your water bath canner while you're doing your jam. I just find it easier doing it in my dishwasher instead of having to take them out, fill them, put them back. But if you don't have a dishwasher or you prefer doing it that way, that's absolutely fine. That sanitizes them just as well. Okay, this has finally calmed down a little bit. So I'm just going to skim off that little bit of foam that's on the top. See that? I can tell already that this is going to set up beautifully. That took off a lot of that foam by using that butter. Okay, let's get ready to can. We are going to fill these jars up to a 1/4 inch We've got all of our jars here ready. I do have more in the dishwasher, but I wanted to start with these and keep these hot. I have my lids in here. I have my bands. These have been keeping warm. I have my wet washcloth. I have my vinegar for wiping the lids, my magnet for grabbing my lids, and my wand here that you can use for debubbling when you're doing vegetables and things like that. I won't need to use that today for jam. And then this right here is the quarter, right here. The littlest one up here on top is your 1/4 inch. And that's what we'll be measuring with. Okay, I want to show you how I do this. You take this and you stick it in there, right there, and that will do your 1/4 inch. I accidentally dumped it in there. Okay, so right there is your 1/4 inch. And it usually comes right up to about that first band right there. But you always want to measure, and then you'll kind of know once you start canning for a while. And then you're going to take a little bit of vinegar water, and you're going to wipe this off. All that sugar, you get some sticky residue on there. Then you're going to take your band, or your lid, pop it on there, and then your band. Go fingertip tight. And right now I'm just going to set that aside for a second, and I'll do a bunch of them into the kettle. I'm going to end up having more than one load. Now we're going to place these jars in the canner. You need 1 inch of headspace over your jars, and mine boiled down a little bit too much, so I need to add some water to my kettle before we get started. Our water's just about to boiling. Once it starts boiling, we'll set the timer for 10 minutes. I got 11 half pints in here, and I've got 9 more to go. I ended up, our last one was this one here, but aren't these just gorgeous? They're so hot. But I tasted the jam after we put all that sugar in it. It's sweet, but it has a nice earthy flavor to it. I think it'll be a great Christmas gift. Okay, our timer just went off for our jars. So I'm going to crack this lid and I'm going to let this sit here for 5 minutes and let that boil come down, just for safety's sake, and letting the jars just come down off of that boil just a little bit. We're going to get these jars out of the canner. You do not want to tip them any more than possible. I have an issue right here because my microwave is right there, so I try not to tip them as much as possible. Don't worry about the water that's on the top of the jar. It will evaporate off. It's more important that you don't tip your jar. All right, that's our first batch. Now these are still plenty hot, so I can put them in this water. So we're going to get these ones in the water. Make sure that you have an inch of head space. If you don't, put more water in your canner. Bring it up to a boil and then set your timer again for the 10 minutes. Wrong buttons. Okay, finally, there we go. Oh, we don't want to do that yet. You guys, it's getting late. Okay, I gotta let this come up to a boil. Turn on my burner. Okay, burner's on. We've got an inch of head space, waiting for it to come up to a boil. Then we'll start our timer. All right, everybody, we did it. We ended up with 19 and a half jars. I'm very proud of these. They look absolutely beautiful. They have the little seeds of the strawberries. You can see a chunk here and there, but just a beautiful looking jar. And I do believe all the ones from our first batch have already set, and we've only got 1 or 2 left here to pop. So it was a success. I hope this gave you some inspiration for making some jam for Christmas for family and friends. I think it's a great gift giving idea, and we've got more to come because I have to fill a basket. So we'll see you in the next video.